Welcome to episode 2 of the MidLegs podcast. And yes, you will notice it's different. This is why you don't come up with the name of your podcast at 9 p.m. while you're drinking at Holy Grail. Shout out to your buddy Brand as well for coming up with it because we were stumped on that. And, we're sitting there.
And we still messed it up.
We got a picture. We got a
Unbelievable.
picture. And we're like, all right, what is it going to be? What's it going to That's it.
He rolled up.
That's it.
It's the first thing he said to us, too. That's crazy.
But unfortunately for the Reds, they are living up to the name, being mid as they fall in opening day to the Boston Red Sox, 3-2 nothing. And I guess we'll start with a little bit of an opening soliloquy of what happened in the game. Really early in the game, it was a pitcher's duel. Abbott didn't look as bad as what we thought he would be. He gave up a little bit of soft contact hits, but nothing that was really strung together for Boston. Uh, Unfortunately, not the case for the Reds. They couldn't really get any contact against Garrett Crochet. Sal Stewart looked pretty good, but outside of that, Crochet dominated the Reds, and that continued on into the bullpen. The Reds are held to only 4 hits on the day. The Red Sox got 12. Eventually, they strung them together once they got to the bullpen. Pierce Johnson gave up a leadoff double, a little bunt over, small ball before a sack. Or no, that was a single up the middle for the Red Sox first run, and then they added a few more against Connor Phillips in the ninth for the 3-0 loss. The Reds had a few chances. They weren't able to get them done. A few chances, namely bases loaded in the 6th inning against Crochet at the end, and wasn't able to capitalize on it. And so I guess we'll start with your notes there, Brunke, of what did you think about the game? What did you have written down from it?
I had a lot of the same, really. A bit of a tweak on Abbott. He was getting piped a bit, innings 1 and 2, but he really settled into his own. Only 1 hit from the 3rd to the 5th inning, I think. And on a day where I really felt like everybody was hitting well for the Red Sox. Roman Anthony, especially, really shining in this baseball game for me. He's not a Red, but fantastic player, and he's still so young. He'll have an exciting season. Bottom line, I think by the end of this year, we're gonna be looking back at this Red Sox team and really the rest of the AL East and thinking about how good that division is. So this is not the end of the world. What is the end of the world is a lot of the same issues. We left 3 runners on base in the 6th inning. Off of I know I'm bouncing around here, but Sal Stewart in this game was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He really was a driving factor in that inning to get the runners on base and where they were. But Garrett Crochet's cutter is one of, if not the best pitch in baseball. I mean, it's unbelievable. The movement on that thing so late, so fast. It's impossible to track.
And that was the thing. He had 8 strikeouts on the day.
Yeah. It's a great day for him.
I will say going into that 6th inning, and I think I texted you this, is you felt towards the 5th inning, the Reds finally were starting to figure out Crochet. And I think that that's one of the biggest things, and it's going to be something we're probably going to talk about a lot of the year, is it feels like the Reds are a step behind every pitcher. Especially with these big clubs, because you saw it in the wild card series, I think last year against the Dodgers, where it took 2 or 3 times through the order until they finally figured out what was going on. And you could see the same thing against Crochet, where they really didn't see the ball that well until about the 5th or the 6th inning. And by that point, he had gone through 43 pitches. I think about 30 of them were strikes. It really feels like they're struggling on what to expect from the mix of pitches. And so Crochet had such a good first few innings that it kind of, the rest of the day, kept the Reds on edge. And so they were looking a lot more for the heat than what they were for the cutter. And that's how he was able to mix that in there perfectly and be able to, get a lot of the strikeouts and get out of the jams that he got out into later in the game with those cutters. That's exactly what happened.
Yep. And it kind of goes back to the thing it's the same issues that we had last year. I A lot of the games last year that we lost, I feel like we weren't figuring out pitchers until the fourth inning, third inning minimum. Um, and if you think back to the Ellie leadoff homers that we had last year, a lot of those games ended up being wins. Um, it's a problem. I want to give this team a lot of leeway. It's the first game of the season. I'm very happy about Abbott, who right now is the ace of this team. How well he looked yesterday. But outside of him and Sal Stewart, it's a really rough day for the Reds. Gino didn't look that great. He swung over on a couple of to be fair, sweepers and cutters of Garrett Crochet's that I really felt like if he had just sat on it, he would have piped it. But just one of those days in the hitting department wasn't there.
No, and I think you kind of mentioned about how Abbott struggled in the first few innings. I think he was kind of adjusting to the way the Red Sox were hitting. They were
Mhm.
very aggressive on the first
Maybe
few
kicking off
pitches.
some of those spring training woes as well.
Exactly. He was trying to throw fastball first pitch, and that's what Boston was looking for once he kind of figured that out. And maybe that's something with the Reds is it doesn't feel like they have a clear hitting strategy. And if there was one move that really needed to be made last year and they didn't make, it was getting rid of Chris Valenka. We've
Mhm.
talked about him when the guard. I mean, look at all the Cleveland fans were tap dancing on his grave when he left with Tito, and for good reason. The guy doesn't know really. It doesn't seem like there's a coherent strategy because that was something I caught a little bit of the Mets Pirates game earlier in the day, and one of the big things is the Mets had a different hitting strategy. They had a strategy of trying to elongate at bats for as long as possible. And look at what it did. They got Skeens out in the first inning. They, tormented, absolutely tormented a lot of these Pirates pitchers. I think there was one at bat that took like 12 or 13 pitches where it was just a 2-2 count, and it was just I believe it was Bo Bichette, and it was just foul off after foul off after foul off until eventually Bichette did strike out. But then the next batter got out there. He exhaled, the pitcher exhaled a little bit of sigh of relief and gave up a home run right after. And so I don't see a consistent hitting strategy from the Reds. And what I do see is you have Ellie De La Cruz, where last year he was either, he was way too not aggressive, I guess. He was really conservative and hitting more for contact than what he was hitting for power. And this year, you can tell he's kind of hitting for power again. But there was a moment in the bottom of the fourth inning where he got absolutely crossed up by a ball in the dirt, basically. It was an off-speed pitch that just had the bottom completely drop out of it. And it really feels like he's either too cautious and he's hitting for contact, or he's too aggressive because he's hitting for power, and there's no in between there. And that's something that, a competent hitting coach would be able to work through and find that middle ground. But it doesn't look like Chris Valenka has. And we'll see. Maybe it gets better throughout the season, but I don't know.
Ellie still can't at breaking ball, which is really frustrating. I was hoping that would get fixed over the offseason. And a quick pivot. The decision not to bring on Pagan in the ninth inning, I have assumed up until this moment, I want your take on it, that it was under the impression that Connor gets us out. It was Connor in the ninth, right?
Yeah,
Connor
Phillips.
gets us out at 1-0 and we tie it up and then we bring Pagan in the 10th. Was that the framework for that? Because to me, you re-sign Pagan to a deal. He's your closer. It was just an odd decision for me. What did you think about that?
I really didn't think too much about it, truthfully. I figured that we were only going to use him for a closer. I feel like I feel like Tito trusted Phillips enough to where he could get him across. I think it's the same thing to where we talked about how this roster is constructed and the way that the bullpen is built to where it's more to Tito's style, where he can throw anybody in there at any given time. And I think that he just kind of got burned a little bit there. Part of that was just because Roman Anthony and Marcel Meyer, who pinch hit late in that game, both of them just were seeing the ball so well, and
Mm.
it didn't matter who was throwing at them. They were getting hits. So I don't, I'm not really looking into it that much, truthfully. I don't think that I could see what he was thinking. I understand waiting for Pagant for the 10th inning, but I didn't really think too much of it, truthfully. I think that it's just that's the way that Tito's going to roll. He's going to roll and throw whoever he kind of wants in that situation. I think that was a decent spot for Phillips to get in there. He's going to try to have, I'd imagine that Phillips' role is going to be one of those like, losing high leverage situation things, and that's going to be the situations he's going to be in, although hopefully more in the seventh and eighth innings. And, it just was a bad day for him because the Red Sox were seeing the ball so well.
Yeah. I think that's very fair. Especially with all the new firepower in the bullpen. I understand wanting to get some of them out there as on opening day. Obviously the Pierce Johnson experiment went horribly. He got pulled after what, 5 pitches?
Yeah, he only
Not
he only
great.
made it three batters, three or four
Yeah.
batters. And then again, with that, it was just I don't necessarily think that was Pierce Johnson. We were kind of talking with, our Braves buddy Andrew, who kind of told us a little bit about him last week. And I think that, again, it was just kind of Marcel Meyer was seeing the ball really well, and just the Red Sox were seeing the ball that well. And I think that, it's one thing I've kind of wondered a lot, a little bit of an aside here, but it's one thing I've kind of wondered a lot when you have these teams that have a lot more money than the Reds. I was thinking a lot of with the Dodgers last year and how they were able to find the tipping pitches as much as what they were able to last year with how big of a department they have, how big of an organization they are. They can have people just dedicated to finding those tiny little tells that Green didn't get roughed up too much aside from in that game, and he absolutely had tells or some sort of tipping pitches. And I'm wondering again if that's something sort of similar where the red and it would explain why we're always so far behind in a lot of these games when we're not able to get to the pitchers early is because we're not able to see those tells. We don't have the staff in our building to be able to put the research in for that. And I wonder if that's another thing to where, the Red Sox were able to do that.
I think it's most likely an organizational nightmare. We've had so much talent in and out in Cincinnati the last couple of years that even with in some games we just still aren't there.
Yeah.
I think it really does come down to the staff. At some point you have to ask that question. Obviously I'm not in the organization, so I don't want to sit here and be like that's the reason.
Well, but it's
But
it's also, I mean, they did invest a lot more in the team, but it's kind of like with the Bengals where you always hear about the Bengals. They only have about 4 or 5 scouts. I think that, the scouting department's a little bit more built out for the Reds and stuff like that, but you don't have the resources to dedicate to have about 5 or 6 of these, video guys solely looking at future teams, looking at, okay, when he holds the glove like this, a fastball's coming or a breaking ball's coming. We don't have the resources for that.
yeah,
And I think that that's going to be, I don't know, there's nothing you can do about that, really. I mean,
no,
the ownership group is really invested in this team. We can't complain about them as much as we have in the past. There's just some things that when the Dodgers are owned by $1 billion organization, they're going to be able to do some things. And the same thing with the Red Sox.
yeah. Let's pivot to a bit of a more positive note. South Stewart on the day. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. I don't have his stats readily in front of me. Do you?
He went 3 for 4. He had 2 doubles.
I mean, very good day. It was an opening day debut for him.
Hmm.
Um, Sorry, at first, which I loved. It was an interesting lineup, but top to bottom on paper, it really did look like a hitting lineup. So it was nice to see South Stewart pop out of that, rather than the names that we might have expected, like the new signing in Gino or Ellie, who Ellie we haven't really mentioned as much, but he wasn't that great. Um,
He did have a hit.
he did have a hit. It was really refreshing to see at that point in the game. But yeah, I'm very happy with Sal.
There was a big question mark about whether him or Suarez were going to be in the cleanup, and I don't
Hmm.
think a lot of people expected him to be in the cleanup when the lineup came out. I know when I looked at that, I was kind of like, okay, but he ended up being a
Great
phenomenal
decision.
spot there. I mean that
Yeah.
he has earned that spot, and I think that he's going to have that sort of. I'd like to see a little bit more power. And obviously, you hope. I don't think that anything's wrong with his wrist. I haven't seen anything else
Mm-mm.
after the game, which is insane because he took, if you missed it in the top of the fifth inning, he took a 110-mile-an-hour screamer directly off the wrist. I mean,
I
he
think
didn't even make the play
the
because
difference really was that it hit here instead of on the side of the bone. I think if it hits here, that's probably a break or at least a
I
fracture.
yeah, I'm stunned that it wasn't a break anyways. When
I
you see
am,
the
yeah,
replay and you see the way it recoiled,
man.
I
Oh,
thought for sure he broke that.
yeah, yeah. It really did. It looked really bad. And then he comes back out and hits a double. It's just that type of adversity to see from him. Uh, Really cool. Yeah, I don't know how old he is, but one of the youngest players on the field to have
Oh
that
yeah.
happen to him, and know that today is his day, and he's staying out there. Really bounced back, got himself a double. Yeah, I he was. I also felt like he played a great job in the field at first. He didn't really have that many challenging plays,
No,
but
not really, but
he did his job.
yeah, that's all he needed to do. I mean, there wasn't the fielding didn't commit an error. I think the only play where the fielding came into question a little bit was one of those doubles. I think it was the first Marcel Meyer double in the seventh. And that kind of just Friedel wasn't able to make that play. He kind of dove
Yep.
for it. He didn't quite get it. And you had to have
Very.
uh,
It was so close though. I
it was
don't.
close. I mean, it's not. I saw a few people talk about how Dane Myers should be out there for defensively with it, and I'm just like, yeah. I mean, Friedel's done a fine job in the past in center field. I mean, he's been an all-star out there.
Yeah, he
He
has.
just didn't make that play there. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the length that, maybe a few other people do, but you need to have that hitting in there. Um,
I mean, Friedel did look completely out of it yesterday
he did.
in the batter's box. He just was not present for this game.
Another guy that I was really kind of impressed with is I felt Keith Brian Hayes was seeing the ball really well.
I felt the same way. Hmm.
Unfortunately, he was hitting it to where people were, but eventually he's not going to, and that he
We
was
saw that
one
a
of
lot last year too,
yeah,
though.
you know, he-
Where he was getting in contact, but it was just falling right to people. Really unlucky plays.
yeah, but I mean, he's the nine-hole hitter, and he's really in there for his defense. I think that he can
Hmm.
definitely still do what he did last year, hit about 250. He hit about 250 with the run saved on defense. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm also so good with that.
So again, the big thing is we're going to have to figure out how to hit off speed. And the good thing is, as much as we've had, we talked about, with the tipping pitches and, really starting slow. Hopefully, there's no excuse to start slow on Saturday's game when they have Sonny Gray pitching, former Red Sonny Gray pitching for the Red Sox against Brady Singer. I'm hoping that the bats come to play there, especially after an off day, although it will be decidedly colder.
Yeah. I also like this matchup, especially because I'm just excited to see what Brady Singer's got for him this year. I think this is going to be a much better year than he had last year. Um, I'm also looking ahead to Sunday. I can't wait to see Rhett Lauder in action. Um, if we can take one of those two, I'll be pretty happy. Two of two would be preferable. Obviously, I want to win every game that we play.
Yeah,
But again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, it's the Red Sox. We're gonna look back and know that that was a good baseball team. So really just looking for the positives out of these games. Getting to see more of the starters, maybe more of the bullpen. Pagan still has to make an entrance to close out a game. So
I think and you kind of mentioned the Sunday pitching matchup's really interesting to me with Connerly early going for the Red Sox against Rhett Lauder. And those are two young pitches, two really highly touted prospects that are just starting to break through at the major league level. I think that that's going to be the real thing that, because I think the Reds can get whatever against Sonny Gray. They'll probably hit about, I think if you can get 8 or 9 hits on the day against Gray and the Red Sox tomorrow, I'm happy with that.
Hmm.
But I think you really got to tee off against the younger guy, especially with this lineup. It's probably going to be a little bit, I would expect that to be a little bit of a more high scoring game between Early and Louder. And that's where you got to really see the bats shine, in
Yeah.
my opinion. So that's what I'm hoping to see from the Reds. But again, with it getting cold, that's one of the big issues is, when it gets cold in Cincinnati early, the bats just they shrivel up.
I guess so.
I
I guess
don't know
so.
what happens with it, but it just does. And we're home again then next week against Pittsburgh, and we might end up getting an angry Paul Skeens in one of those games after getting, you know, shelled, albeit partially O'Neal Cruz just doesn't know how to play center field.
I don't know what was he. I unbelievable. A couple of those plays, I was dumbfounded by what I was watching.
Oh yeah, but with Skeens only going 2/3 of an inning, he's going to want to come back and bounce back. And unfortunately, with this Reds lineup and their inability to hit some of these off-speed pitches, that could be something that could be a perfect opportunity for him to bounce back, which does not spell well for the Reds fans.
No, it doesn't. That sounds like a 3-0 loss again, off of 2 hits. But who knows? Maybe their Skeens just has a tell now, and that's why he was getting worked. I felt like it was a bit of mismanagement by the Pirates to take him out of there. I think you let your ace stay in there and get himself out of that jam. Maybe once the game gets really out of hand, you pull him.
Well,
But
the
I
the biggest
understand.
the biggest thing with it was, they'd already given up 5 runs. They thought they could do it, and he already had 40 pitches. Because again, and we talked about it, the way the Mets approached it, where really trying to they were really trying to, just elongate at bats.
Yeah.
That's what, again, we need to have the Reds have a clear strategy like that. And you see how it affects Paul Skeens. That's what you got to do. You got to be able to have some sort of clear strategy like that. I mean, really discernibly, could you tell any clear strategy from the Reds hitting
No.
yesterday? No,
No.
I don't think you have for years.
I don't when we step up to the batter's box, it feels like everybody's playing an individual game of baseball where they have no outside help and they're just trying to hit the baseball. Sometimes it works. Sometimes Sal Stewart's doing what his thing and Allie's hitting home runs, but it doesn't feel like there's a game plan, an attack plan for these pitchers. Garrett Crochet, you have to have some sort of plan. You have to
Exactly.
you have to eliminate those breaking balls that are killing us so bad. Figure out a way to get him out of his arsenal, move him away from it, and then pipe him. But I don't play professional ball, so
No,
don't
no.
don't take my advice. Nor do I
We,
coach it.
we got to do something though. I definitely think it's something that is definitely lacking, and it was something I got to watch a decent amount of baseball. I think that's one thing that Major League Baseball is doing a little bit better this year is opening week actually felt like opening week.
Yes.
You had multiple games available to you. It just wasn't, one game on ESPN at the end of the day.
This has always been a criticism of mine with MLB, MLS, NHL, all the sports that aren't football, pretty much. Their TV deals and NBA, their TV deals are non-existent. MLB, I haven't been able. This is the first year that I'm confident I'm going to watch every single Reds game, every single pitch of every single Reds game because I bought the thing that allows me to do it.
Yeah.
When I was using cracked streams, I was pitches behind. I was buffering
I mean,
over
to be
stuff.
fair, I bought the thing and you were still ahead of me somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but uh, the fact that the opening night game between the Giants and the Yankees
Yep.
question mark
Yeah, it was the Yankees.
um and we had the 4 p.m. games yesterday and then a prime time and a West Coast prime time slot. And then we have, I think, six aces left to play today.
Yep.
Um, and they're for the Braves didn't play yesterday. A whole lot
Rockies
of good
didn't.
baseball
Oh
of
yeah.
ready and available on major networks that we can load up YouTube TV and watch all around the country. And I think that I agree. It's very important to this sport and the survival of MLB in general.
I mean, you look at it, you got Netflix in game one. You had two games on NBC yesterday. You're
Hmm.
stuck with Apple TV today, which if you have it, great. If you don't, I don't have it, and I hate it. You've got a Fox game on Friday or Saturday night, and then you've got, Sunday night baseball with Peacock, where it's not just because one of the bigger things as well with a lot of these nationally televised games is outside of Fox, it felt like it was the same two teams the
Yeah.
entire time. And it
Always,
looks like
always the
NBC's changed
Dodgers,
that.
always the Yankees.
The Red Sox, maybe
Mm,
if you're lucky, you get Cubs and the Astros
yeah.
in the rotation, and that's it. But I mean, what? The first Sunday night baseball game of the year is Guardians Mariners? Sure. We'll take that. Um,
It ended up being a great game. I missed all of it, but
yeah, no. Well, it was late at night. That's one of those games you throw on Tom Hamilton on the radio and you fall asleep to it.
I am excited to see what Chase Delauder does this year. He'll be Sal's rookie of the year contender.
Oh
So
yeah, he already had two home runs, and hey, maybe both America or maybe both rookies of the year can reside in Ohio this year.
yeah, wouldn't
That
that
would
be cool?
be that would be very nice. But
The AL and the NL.
oh yeah, what'd you end up doing it for opening day? Obviously we didn't make it down to Cincinnati for it. Not quite in the budget, but for me, I had worked until about 1. I got back. I bought the Budweiser cans, which were beautiful, by the way. They only come in the 24 packs. That's where they get you. But I mean, they're pretty. They're pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
did. They
going up
look
on the
cool.
shelf. Um, made, had one of those, braised some brats with it, basically boiled them because, I don't have a grill. That's a sad thing. But,
I I I've been itching for a grill. I turned 25 and all of a sudden I need a grill.
oh
I
yeah.
don't know what happened.
Oh, my issue is my apartment. There's nowhere to put a grill. And
See,
so it's like,
now I've got this little fenced in part of my
ooh,
yard that has a slab of concrete and then some grass. It's more like dirt right now, but I can put a grill out there.
oh
And
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. I don't know when I'll be able to afford that, but I didn't do anything for opening day. It was actually my girlfriend's birthday.
Oh,
Happy
nice.
birthday to
Happy
Tay.
birthday,
Shout
Tay.
out. So I was hanging out with her most of the day when I got home from work. I work a really early schedule. I work 3 a.m. to 1:30. And also we have directors. I'm a TV director, and we
Yeah.
have directors out this week. So I've been working. I worked 11 extra hours. Feels good. Paycheck's gonna be big. That's really what I care about.
Supplement
But
the Reds TV.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Although shout out Aiden, our buddy Aiden is splitting Reds TV with me, so that'll be clutch for us.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, no, I didn't do anything too special for opening day, but I did. I was able to watch every single pitch. Shout out to Reds TV,
Oh
and
yeah.
shout out to you for letting me borrow
Oh
your Reds TV
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, no, well, I would have shared it with you for the, podcast. It probably would have been a tax write-off, although I don't. I need to make this an actual company so I can
I
get
know.
tax
I was
write-off.
just talking to my mom. I need to start an LLC for my graphic stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
But, uh I bought it for myself and my dad, and my dad, bless his soul, he is a baby boomer. He's like 65. He has no clue how to get the MLB app on the smart TV that I had to set up for him the
oh
last time I was
no.
up there. They
Oh
upgraded,
no.
they upgraded. He had this massive box TV for the longest time. It was a wedding present from when they got married in 2001,
Oh my
and
gosh.
he finally got rid of it, mostly because they had those old converter boxes. Remember when they switched from regular, like the over the air TV to like the digital signal TV in like
Yeah.
2009?
Yeah.
We bought a converter box for that TV, and that converter box was on its last legs because we still had the same one 16 years old. The box itself was fine. The controller had been falling apart for years. And so he's like, they don't make this anymore. And he has all the luck in the family. So he managed to buy himself he got a TV in a raffle, nice 50-inch UHD Samsung
Oh,
TV.
nice.
So I got that set up for him, but I got him on my YouTube TV, but he cannot. I tried to walk him through how to get the MLB app on there. He's like, I can't find it, and I
Not
don't know.
not
I don't
not
know the
used to
thing
the
well
smart
enough
TV
for
yet.
it. So I
Poor
go up
guy.
there in a few weeks, and he's gonna get himself the TV
Some
there
some
for that. But
some he's gonna get some tech lessons while you're there.
oh yeah, no, not even tech lessons. I'm just gonna do it for him.
Fair enough.
I'll set everything up for it. I had to do the same thing last year. So yeah, it is what it
Yeah.
is with it.
My
But
parents aren't at that age yet, but they're
no,
they're they're working toward this. Sometimes they get some questionable question. My mom's business, I tell her to digitalize all of her statements all the time. This
I,
is so off topic.
yeah.
I tell her to digitalize all of her stuff, and she refuses to do it. It would make her life exponentially easier. But
My dad still refuses to have a cell phone. That's why, because it'd be easy if I could just FaceTime him, but he doesn't have a cell phone.
oh, so our parents will not be watching the Reds very much
No.
this season, but we will be.
We will be, and we'll be bringing it to you again next Friday. We got the off day on Thursday. We'll probably record on Thursday. We'll see. We'll see when we can record.
One or the other.
We'll
It'll
figure
come.
it out, but it'll be up Friday afternoon again right here on Blalock Media and the MidLegs podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.